Hello Year 6 and welcome to today's reading lesson. Now, we are going to read 2 chapters of Wonder today. So the first one, you just get to enjoy, okay? No questions about it, just enjoy the chapter. So that chapter's called Home. And then the second chapter we're going to read, called First Day Jitters, there are some questions for you to do, okay? But we'll get into that as we get into our screen. Here we go. Okay, so like I said, this first chapter, no questions to worry about, or just enjoy it. So the last chapter we read last week was when Oggy had done this tour and he'd left with his mum after meeting Julian and Charlotte and Jackwell. Okay, home. As soon as we had walked halfway, half a block from school, Mum said, "So, how'd it go? Do you like it?" "Not yet, Mum. When we get home," I said. The moment we got inside the house, I ran to my room and threw myself onto my bed. I could tell Mum didn't know what was up. And I guess I didn't really. I felt very sad and a tiny bit happy at the exact same time. Kind of like that laughing, crying feeling all over again. My dog, Daisy, followed me into the room, jumped on the bed and started licking me all over my face. "Who's a good girlie?" I said in my dad voice. "Who's a good girlie?" "Is everything okay, sweetness?" Mum said. She wanted to sit down beside me, but Daisy was hogging the bed. "Excuse me, Daisy." She sat down, nudging Daisy over. "Were those kids not nice to you, Oggy?" "Oh no," I said, only half lying. They were okay." "But were they nice?" Mr. Tushman went out of his way to tell me how sweet these kids were. "Uh-huh," I nodded, but I kept looking at Daisy, kissing her on the nose and rubbing my ear until her back leg did that kind of flea scratch thing. "That boy Julian seemed especially nice," Mum said. "Oh, no, he was the least nice. I liked Jack though, he was nice. I thought his name was Jackwell, but it's just Jack." "Wait, maybe I'm getting them confused. Which one was the one with the dark hair all brushed forward?" "That's Julian." "And he wasn't nice?" "No, not nice." "Oh." She thought about this for a second. "Okay, so is he the kind of kid who's one way in front of grown-ups and then another way in front of kids?" "Yeah, I guess." "Ah, I hate those," she answered, nodding. He was like, "So August, what's the deal with your face?" I said, looking at Daisy the whole time. "Were you in a fire or something?" Mum didn't say anything. When I looked up at her, I could tell she was completely shocked. "He didn't say it in a mean way," I said quickly. "He was just asking." Mum nodded. "But I really like Jack," I said. "He was like, 'Shut up, Julian.' And Charlotte was like, 'You're so rude, Julian.'" Mum nodded again. She pressed her fingers on her forehead like she was pushing against a headache. "I'm so sorry, Oggy," she said quietly. Her cheeks were bright red. "No, it's okay, Mum, really." "You don't have to go to school if you don't want to, sweetie." "I want to," I said. "Oggy, really, Mum, I want to." And I wasn't lying. Okay, so this next chapter, First Day Jitters. For this, there are 3 questions that I want you to be thinking about for now. So firstly, what does first day jitters mean? Okay, so have a look to see if it explains it in the text. If not, you might have to have a little think. Who are the people in Oggy's neighbourhood that make him feel safe? And what do you think Via is thinking and feeling as she says goodbye to Oggy? It does say on page 36, but you won't know what page it is. But when what do you think Via is thinking and feeling as she says goodbye? Okay, so these 3 questions, some are retrieval, some are inference. And then I've got a little activity for you to do afterwards. Okay, let's get into the chapter. First day jitters. Okay, so I admit that the first day of school I was so nervous that the butterflies in my stomach were more like pigeons flying around my insides. Mum and Dad were probably a little nervous too, but they acted all excited for me, taking pictures of me and Via before we left the house, since it was Via's first day of school too. Up until a few days before, we still weren't sure I was going to go to school at all. After my tour of the school, Mum and Dad had reversed sides on whether I should go or not. Mum was now the one saying I shouldn't go, and Dad was the one saying I should. Dad had told me how he was really proud of how I'd handled myself with Julian, and that I was turning into quite a strong young man. And I heard him tell Mum that he now thought she'd been the right all along. But Mum, I could tell, wasn't so sure anymore. When Dad told her that he and Bea wanted to walk me to school today too, since it was on the way to the subway station, Mum seemed relieved that we would all be going together. And I guess I was too. Even though Beecher Prep is just a few blocks from our house, I've only been on that block a couple of times before. In general, I try to avoid blocks where there are lots of kids roaming around. On our block, everybody knows me, and I know everybody. I know every brick and every tree trunk and every crack in the sidewalk. I know Mrs. Grimaldi, the lady who's always sitting by our window, and the old guy who walks up and down the street whistling like a bird. I know the deli on the corner where Mum gets our bagels, and the waitresses at the coffee shop who all call me honey and give me lollipops whenever they see me. I love my neighbourhood of North River Heights, which is why it was so strange to be walking down these blocks, feeling like it was all new to me suddenly. Amersfoort Avenue, a street I've been down a million times, looked totally different for some reason. Full of people I never saw before, waiting for buses, pushing strollers. We crossed Amersfoort and turned up Heights Place. Via walked next to me like she usually does, and Mum and Dad were behind us. As soon as we turned the corner, we saw all the kids in front of the school, hundreds of them talking to each other in little groups, laughing or standing with their parents, who were talking with other parents. I kept my head way down. "Everyone's just as nervous as you are," said Via in my ear. "Just remember that this is everyone's first day of school, okay?" Mr. Tushman was greeting students and parents in front of the school entrance. I have to admit, so far, nothing bad had happened. I didn't catch anyone staring or even noticing me. Only once did I look up to see some girls looking my way and whispering, with their hands cupped over their mouths. But they looked away when they saw me notice. We reached the front entrance. "Okay, so this is it, big boy," said Dad, putting his hands on top of my shoulders. "Have a great first day. I love you," said Via, giving me a big hug and a kiss. "You too," I said. "I love you, Oggy," said Dad, hugging me. "Bye." Then Mum hugged me. But I could tell she was about to cry, which would have totally embarrassed me. So I just gave her a fast, hard hug, turned, and disappeared into the school. Okay, if you've not answered those three questions, do it now. So, what does first day jitters mean? Who are the people in Oggy's neighbourhood that make him feel safe? And what do you think Bea is thinking and feeling as she says goodbye to Oggy? Now, if you need to pause now and do those. Now that you've done them, your task. So on here, we've got 3 people that we meet in this chapter that it mentions briefly. Mrs. Grimaldi, the waitresses, and the old guy. And then they do 3 things. One of them walks up and down whistling. One of them sits by the window. And one of them gives Oggy lollipops. All I want you to do is match up which one. So if you think it's Mrs. Grimaldi who walks up and down whistling, in your book, just write, Mrs. Grimaldi walks up and down whistling. And then so you just need 3 sentences. So you've got 3 sentences for your answers before and 3 sentences for this. And then this is you done for today. Okay, you're 6. So look forward to seeing your work on Dojo, and I will see you in the next I can't think of a word beginning with that. I'll see you in the next reading lesson. Goodbye.